I know I've got probably the most.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. We are going to start at 7 p.m. sharp, which is just a couple of seconds. All right, everybody. It's a full house. We love having you here. Welcome to Kaysville City, and welcome to our City Council meeting. Today is Thursday, July 16th, 2026. Our opening will be presented by Councilmember Joshua McBride, Josh, and then we are going to move something on our schedule. We're going to move item 2 and replace it with item 3. So we're going to have presentations and awards after the opening, and then we'll do call to the public after presentations and awards. So we have a lot of families here, and we don't want to make you wait. So, okay, go ahead, Josh.
Okay, this is actually fantastic to see everyone here. I have had a lot of time over the last couple weeks to just see our whole community just work together and come together, and the city and everyone, and it has been such a heartfelt, touching experience from the parade and all the activities, and then even next week we have some more activities with the 24th coming up. And I just as we were getting ready here, I just heard someone say, teamwork makes dream work, and quite honestly, that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's fantastic to live in such a great community and have such a great team, and have all you guys here tonight. It is really touching. So I'm going to start out by an opening prayer, and then after we'll have a flag ceremony. Our dear Heavenly Father, we are gathered tonight together as a city, and we're thankful for watching over us and watching over our country and keeping us safe. We're grateful for all of our many blessings, and we're grateful for the temperatures and the humidity that we are feeling, and we're grateful for a great community in which we live. We ask you to please help us tonight to be able to discuss the things we need to do as a city and to help celebrate those individuals in the city that have gone above and beyond. And these things we ask and we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're now going to proceed with item number 3A, presentation of the Employee of the Quarter award to Brian White. We're excited to have Brian here, and I'll turn the mic over to Cole. What did I say?
Thank you, Mayor. It is exciting to be here tonight, and I'm privileged to introduce the Employee of the Quarter that represents, it's from our department this quarter, which is Brian White. He's one of our recreation coordinators. I think what you see out here in the audience tonight with the red, white, and blue from our all-star programs and other things is just a symbolic of what Brian means to Kaysville City. When I use the phrase all in, Brian is all in when it comes to his job and what it means to provide recreation opportunities for the community of Kaysville. And he consistently goes above and beyond, countless hours he puts in that I think go unrecognized. And so it's a great privilege for me to recognize Brian as the Kaysville City Employee of the Quarter. Brian. I'm going to turn some time over to Chris High, who's our recreation superintendent, who works day in and day out with Brian, to say a few things as well.
I actually am the one who nominated him, and one of the reasons is because of the I Can Make a Difference award program that Brian started in our city, and we've just been able to recognize so many community members through that program. So that was one of my main reasons, but not the only reason. Brian is just awesome and is always taking on more than his share. Sometimes we have to put a thumb on him a little bit. Like, no, you can't do everything. But thank you for recognizing Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian will defer his comment. He gets to speak for the next two awards.
Okay.
But just anyway, kudos to Brian. We appreciate all you do for Kaysville City, and use your extra 4 hours of PTO coming out. So,
Congratulations.
okay.
Brian, you're awesome. Thank you. Okay, our next item is honoring the award winners from the I Can Make a Difference program. So Brian is up. He'll be presenting these.
So this is our full first year that we've done the I Can Make a Difference Award. So this is the third time that we're presenting here, which is really awesome. This spring, we had 34 people that were nominated. And what it is anybody can see somebody making a difference in the program, from a player to a coach to a staff member, umpire, or whatever. And so we had 34 people nominated. Now we have 3 that we want to present to you guys tonight. So can I have Grace Scott come up, Brian Bells, and Jens Dixon? Come on up. All right, I'm just going to briefly say what they were nominated for. So Grace right here, she was also on the All-Star team that won, so she gets presented twice today, which is awesome. But she is always the first player to cheer on her teammates no matter what. She encourages anyone that may have struck out or had a bad inning. She congratulates them and tries to have them do their best. But the most amazing thing that she does is how she supports her own team. She also supports the other team. She'll be the first one to cheer them on too. So thank you for making a great sportsman and keeping sports fun, Grace. Brian, over here on the end, he is our first adult that has won. He was a coach for the soccer program. He is well organized and explains the rules, and he's needed to make the game run smoothly. He's made soccer fun while teaching and greatly improving the boys. He has a very positive attitude, and the boys had a positive attitude because of him. So thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
And Grace was nominated by her coach, and so was Jens right here.
Awesome, yeah. So
Jens is one of the most talented kindergarten soccer players he had ever seen and he's ever coached. His ability to take over the game is, if he wanted to, every time he touched the ball, he could score. But, in fact, he actually scored 5 or 6 times in one game. But what's most impressive is not only his talent, but his character. After just a few games, Jens began intentionally looking for others to pass the ball to, people that had not touched the ball. He found out that his success was more important when they succeeded.
Wow.
I also noticed him continually encouraging his teammates. Whether someone made a great play or simply tried their hardest, Jens would offer quick praise and support. He celebrated them, not just himself, but all of them. In addition, he showed respect to the opposing team. He often was the first player to shake their hands at the end of the game. Jens is an exceptional athlete, but more importantly, he's an exceptional teammate. Jens' kindness, humility, and encouragement of others and the respect of the opponent is why he truly deserves a sportsmanship award. And I agree with that.
That was awesome.
So, do we want to do pictures with them? Can we have their family members come up with them? We're going to do a picture with the city council coming down.
Yep.
And so what they got here is they get 2 4-hour passes to Boondocks because they're
awesome.
supporting this. And also the Raptors have given them 4 tickets to box seats. So
Wow, that's
great.
great.
And then, Jens, there's your wristband too. So
Congratulations, you guys.
let's slide over in front of the microphone. We're having the city council come down, so let's slide down.
Oh, yeah, okay, so we can stand in front of this, actually, yeah, you guys can stand in front of it.
I feel taller next to Tammy, so it's like it averages out.
I'm wearing heels too. Yeah, 2 inches, like 3 inches probably.
Do you want me to go into all
Brian, that is a very cool program.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's really neat.
think
Yes,
it's
go ahead.
awesome. It's awesome.
Okay.
Okay, let's go right into our winners for All-Stars. So we just hosted the All-Star tournament here. This is the 10th year of that All-Star tournament, and most of those games have been played here in Kaysville. The past week was really super hot. We had games that started over when it was already 100 degrees, and we didn't finish until 11 o'clock at night. So we had 108 games played in 8 nights, and nothing started before 5 p.m. So we had to use a couple of fields in Layton and Farmington to be able to get it all done, but all the championships were done here. And then we had 2 of our teams that won. Our 5th and 6th grade age group must be amazing because the boys and girls both won. They actually went undefeated in their brackets and then won the championship on the first game. So really cool. They were able to put in a lot of work and to be able to bring home this trophy to Kaysville. So we're going to have the 5th and 6th grade boys team, the baseball team come up. That's coached by Greg Bell. And then we'll also have the girls come up at the same time. The softball team is coached by David Nom.
Okay, cool.
Come on up.
Come on.
And I'm sure you guys all love these jerseys. They're
I do.
awesome.
We want one.
We
Those
love
are
the
great.
Kaysville and American theme. So,
Yeah, that's very cool.
so I'm presenting to you guys the City Council and to the City of Kaysville. These are our winners. Let's give it up.
Awesome. Yeah,
So
yeah.
this trophy, some of these kids have their team name on here twice because some of these girls won 2 years ago and some of these boys won last year as well. So we have represented really well in this tournament. So we're going to let them take pictures with you guys too.
Okay. Yeah.
Come on down.
You better believe it.
You guys want to hold it first? We'll do the girls first, and we'll hop over to the boys and do everyone together.
Girls first? Okay.
Yeah. Always girls first is what I hear. Always girls first. We're doing girls first.
Look over here when you're done.
Okay. Just pretend like you're going out for the next event. Here you go, ready? Do it. 1, 2, 3. Hey, stay right there because we'll try to get everybody, but let's do the boys.
Okay.
You guys have your cheer? Do you guys do when you go out for an inning?
What's your cheer?
What is it?
What time is it?
squish together and try to get all 5th and 6th grade together. You guys all slide in there together. You guys come this way, slide this way, slide this way. Here you go.
Maybe in the middle. Mason, jump in the middle and let one of the girls hold it with you. Have her hold it with you.
Have Grace hold it. There you go. Awesome. Ready? Kaysville on 3. 1, 2, 3. Kaysville! Woo! Good job, guys. You're taking that home? We can take pictures with it out there with the name on it. So, thanks, guys.
I'm on AI.
Congratulations, you guys. You worked so hard. We're so proud of you. And to your families. We appreciate you. Am I good? Second. Is Linda Francis here? Oh, there you are. Come on up, Linda. I get to embarrass you for a minute. Linda Francis is our 2026 Unsung Hero. Let me tell you why. Just a second here. So Linda has been our Youth City Council advisor for many years. John actually gets to work directly with Linda as the City Council liaison. Would you like to share some thoughts about it? Okay.
Oh, when you're done?
No, go ahead.
Wasn't prepared to do this, but it is actually super easy to do. For those of you that don't know, the Youth City Council is a tremendous opportunity for the youth to come and participate in service projects, but more importantly, be involved with the government and understand a little bit about what we do. What's most amazing, though, is that it hinges upon a good counselor. If there isn't a good counselor, it doesn't exist. And Linda is above and beyond top notch, the absolute best. Like, we are so bummed that she's leaving. She found a great replacement, so that's great. But I get teary because honestly, I've participated in these events that wouldn't have happened had she not put them together. And you've gotten the youth excited about the opportunity to be able to serve, and profoundly grateful for everything that you've done, not only for the youth, but for the city for providing that service. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you jumping in for that. Linda has served as the Kaysville Youth City Council advisor for 9 years, which is a long time. It's a pretty involved volunteer position. I think you started when your kids were, before your kids were involved?
My kids didn't get involved till the end.
Oh, okay. Yes, you
I
just...
had a neighbor who was a city councilman, and
Oh, yeah.
he was like, we need help.
Yeah.
We're like, we can't do it.
Well, we're so grateful that you've been willing to step in. So over the years, they participated in so many activities. The Scarecrow Festival at USU Botanical Gardens. We have a day at the legislature where she brings the kids up to the Capitol, and they've been able to meet the governor and different legislators and learn about the legislative process. She's participated with the kids in the Easter egg hunt. They go out and they throw the candy. They get up really early and do that with America First Credit Union, I think. And then many other opportunities. Kaysville Gives for the last 6 years, I think, right? It's been great. So just so many wonderful ways for children to be able to serve, and it looks great on their applications for college, and has helped them get into some really great schools. And so we've just really appreciated Linda. It's basically a volunteer job, a thankless job, but something that is so appreciated, and so we're just so grateful. Marnie Clark will be replacing her, and so cheer Marnie on, because we're excited to have her. But Linda, thank you for everything that you've done for so many years. I have a plaque to give you.
1, 2, 3. Linda!
Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Linda's family, for being here. See you guys. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the State of the City report. I will turn the mic to City Manager Jason Christensen to present this for us.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, State of the City. So, wanted to start with the next slide. Sorry. Every meeting that we have as staff, as department heads, we start with this mission statement. It's the city's mission statement, and everything we do, we try to think about this. If it's not about enhancing the quality of life in Kaysville through effective, efficient, and equitable services, then it's probably not something we need to be doing. So we take it really seriously. There's a lot of meaning behind those words, and that's why we bring it up a lot. So next slide. So I had a hard time, this State of the City, this is the second year I've done it, but it's always a challenge. There's so much to talk about. It's hard to put in a 10-minute presentation. Just to kind of illustrate, we had our Kaysville University course earlier this year, which was a 7-week course every Wednesday night for a few hours. People on some of the elected officials, of course, and many of our planning commissioners and some of our department heads attended this 7-week course, and it was just every night there was a different department. And so that even was sort of a high-level overview of what's going on in the city. So again, there's no way that we'll cover everything in a short presentation, but I really wanted tonight to focus on some of the highlights, and I've had to cut a lot back out of this presentation even. Next slide. And next, police department. So Chief Oberg recently gave a really nice annual report to the council, so I won't spend a whole lot of time here, but you can see our service calls have kind of evened out here. I think for the record, some of the more common calls we see are traffic-related, traffic enforcement, traffic accidents, suspicious calls, things like that. Next slide. One of the new initiatives from this year has been our morning briefs. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch this on social media, but Officer Wallace here has been doing that usually a few times a month. On a weekday morning, we'll put this out. It's just a short 1 to 2 minute video. I hope you have a chance to watch it. They're really informative and just a fun way to get the information, kind of covering incidents, safety concerns that the community should know about, different police department initiatives, and it's just created a really nice connection to the community, and I think building trust and awareness of what's going on the law enforcement side of the community. Next slide. We continue to be one of the highest rated, most safe cities, I guess, in Utah. 8th this year. We're a couple points down, but still one of the top in the state. Next slide. Fire department. So we've seen a recent increase from up until last year. We were kind of hovering around 2,000 responses per year, right below 2,000 or just over 2,000. And then in 2025, we saw an increase of about 18%. That's about 360 or so, 365 calls. And from what we're seeing so far in 2026, we're on pace to see probably another jump up to maybe 2,600 calls, so another 300 or so calls roughly for this year over 2025. So we're continuing to see that growth. We're growing, we're an aging community, which I think drives some of that. We're providing new services, so continue to see that demand. Next slide. So something that Chief Erickson initiated just this last year, which it's been a really good thing, is wildland fire deployment. And we deployed to 2 fires last year in 2025, the Monroe and the Knowles fire, total of 17 days. We're specifically deploying our medical crew, our ambulance to those fires. And it's really a win-win. We're helping with the wildland effort, but we're also getting reimbursed for those. And so there's been a significant return on our investment. For example, the cost to us as a city for the 2 fires of deploying our people was $25,000, and we were reimbursed over 59, almost 60,000. So a 137% return. And we've deployed this year already to the Cottonwood Fire, and we're going to continue to be a part of that. It's, again, a win-win situation. So wanted to tip my hat to Chief Erickson for starting that program. Next slide. Public Works. So Public Works it's hard to sum this department up. There's so much going on, but I always like how Josh kind of summarizes just the vast scope of work that they're responsible for in streets, 130 miles of streets, 168 miles of drinking water pipes that they're responsible for, and all the infrastructure that goes into the drinking water system, 7 water tanks, 1,700 hydrants, pump houses and valves. It's a significant effort, not to mention the daily weekly testing that goes on to manage the water, to make sure it's safe. 150 miles of stormwater pipes, and then we've got our engineering department. The department's received over $28 million in grants the past 10 years and had some great projects. I'm going to kind of hit on those next slide. Well, first, the Kings Court water line replacement. That's been going on for a few months. Just last year, we talked about the importance of investing in our infrastructure. A lot of our infrastructure is aging, especially our water lines, and we're trying to project what those needs are, make sure we're having a sustainable system to pay for those improvements and that maintenance. And this is a good case in point, a project that we had, I think, 7 breaks over, I want to say 18-month period, right up until even they started working on this project, they had a break. So residents, I think, are very happy to see that finally being addressed and getting close to finishing that. Next slide. Big project that everyone's pretty well aware of is the 200 North reconstruction from Main Street up to the Fruit Heights border. That project is getting closer to finish. It's, I think by the end of this year, you'll see substantial completion, but come spring, there's still going to be a little more final touches, including the landscaping. So excited to see that project wrapping up. And that's another example of a great grant project that the city was able to obtain. And hats off to Mayor Trent as well she's on the committee for Davis County that helps award those grants, and we've been able to get some nice grants. Another one coming up that we're already starting to work on is the Angel Street extension, which will be a huge benefit to the west side, moving traffic around. And so these are significant grants, millions and millions of dollars, and we're really grateful to have that. Next slide. Next slide, Power Department. So we saw a decline, fortunately, in our unscheduled outages from 79 to 58. So that's a good sign. Interestingly, if you notice this cause of outages, squirrels went up quite a bit from 4 events in 2024 to 2025, 17 events. So next slide shows you kind of where our most common outages. Next slide, Anne Marie. So equipment is second to squirrels. Squirrels have become quite the problem. And these are invasive squirrels from the east. These aren't your friendly western squirrels. Somehow these aggressive, I think they're called rock squirrels, but they're pretty ornery, and they get up in the lines and they'll even throw stuff at the guys when they're trying to fix the lines, so pretty aggressive. But a lot of them have been cooked, so maybe we're helping to fix the problem too. Next slide. This is just to show how consistent our average, this is how we measure the reliability of our system. And you can see every year we're well over 99%, 99.9% of the time we have full power. And this is kind of consistent with what you're going to see with Rocky Mountain as well. I looked up that statistic. But we've got a really reliable system thanks to our guys and planning ahead and being very responsive to outages. Next slide. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the power department. This is just a very high-level highlight. The Burton substation is getting closer. I was told today, actually, we were hoping to have that project online by this October, November. Like a lot of things, there's delays in manufacturing sometimes, and we are looking at another source to get some switches. You're only as fast as the slowest piece of equipment that come in, so we're hoping to have this online by spring next year. We really want to hit it during those shoulder months between the heating season and the cooling season. That's when you want to have low demand on your stations and be able to do some testing before they go online. So we're planning to have that up and operating by next spring. A lot of effort going into replacing all the underground lines that are existing. Those are mostly 40, 50 years old and in need of replacement. So that's a big project.
Hey, Jason.
Yes.
Sorry, Mayor. Can I interrupt Jason
Sure.
real quick?
Oh, please do, yes.
The underground line replacement is, I guess, I've talked to Brian a couple times, and he's always wanting me to let people know it's not that we're burying other power lines. It's power lines that are already buried that we're putting inside conduit or whatever we're doing there. That's what we're talking about, right?
Correct. That's a great clarification. A lot of people are interested in burying power lines, and unfortunately, that's a extremely high cost. And so this is, as you said, just replacing existing underground. About 50 years ago, I want to say, I'm told that's when, for a period of time, they were doing that more. But again, this is just some areas around town where we've got some of that existing infrastructure that we're replacing. The EDAM system, this is kind of a new program. It's the Extended Day Ahead Market. And essentially what this is it's Kaysville is a distribution system. We don't produce our own power. We buy the power and distribute it to our customers. And so we're buying power from all over the place, from different power plants. And this is now a requirement on cities. It's basically kind of like a stock exchange for power purchases. And the purpose of it is to allocate and distribute power across the region in the most efficient and economical way. And so there's a system where we kind of forecast what our needs are going to be the next day or the next week, and then they try to project where the most efficient and cost-effective way is to where to purchase that power and then put it in the right places. So as of just a couple months ago, it's fully online. We're participating in that, and we're hopeful to see some positive results for the community. Several new subdivision builds going on right now, new development. We're really close to finishing up the King Clarion rebuild. It's been going on for quite a while. And yeah, next slide. Parks and Recreation. This is a department that I think we could probably give the longest name in the city to. It's parks, it's all the recreation programming, it's the cemetery, it's city community events. What else?
All the buildings.
Facilities. We've got six buildings that they're in charge of maintaining and operating. And so huge responsibility, but one of the exciting projects that I think a lot of people are aware of is the Kaysville Fieldhouse. This was groundbroken a couple months ago. It's a partnership between Davis School District and Kaysville City, whereby the school district was going to build a new gym for Kaysville Junior High, and we were able to partner in that project and get a joint use to kind of leverage taxpayer dollars, and it's going to be a really exciting project that the city will have access to off-school hours, so evenings, weekends, summers. And the Parks Department, Recreation are really excited about all the programming, new events they're going to be able to bring. And if I'm not mistaken, Cole, that should be starting vertical by August-ish, maybe. So
That's awesome.
60 panels, did you say, tilt-up construction? Something.
They'll have an indoor walking track, which will be really nice.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Walking, running track.
Four full-size courts, basketball courts, plus an upper-level track. Community rooms.
Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, maybe not Pilates, I'm not sure. But some fitness classes.
It's going to be, and this is something that's a tested model that's been used in other cities. Layton's got a couple of examples. West Point, or not West Point, West Point just did one with the school district. So we're excited for that. And it should be open by end of next summer, 27?
Yeah, school year next year.
Perfect. So.
Awesome.
Yep. Next project, or again, so many projects to highlight, but we wanted to bring this one out. This is the cremation garden that just opened up around May.
It's pretty.
1,200 spots. Is that about right? And so there's an increasing demand for cremations, and a lot of cities are doing this. We're excited to provide that service, and a really lovely place for people to have that. So. This is phase one, and so as demand comes and we fill this up, there will be future expansion. Next slide. hard to hit on this all, but there's so much going on in the recreation programming, dozens of different programs, over almost 12,000 participants in total each year. And I don't know how Chris and her staff do it with just a few people do a ton of work. Any given Saturday in the summer, you're running over 100 soccer games, right? I mean, just amazing. So all the coaches and youth and everyone involved. Next slide. Our community development department. So this is both planning and zoning, business licensing, and also building department, so building permits. You can see that we're still nowhere near some of the peaks that we've seen around 21, 22, and back in 14, 15 of new homes. But if you go to the next slide, you can see building permits overall is at an all-time high. So this includes everything, not just new homes, but also basement remodels, things like that, all construction. We're seeing an uptick in those types of permits. Next slide. There's so much going on in the planning and zoning. One thing I won't spend any time on here, but we've got our smell area plan. Obviously, this is later on in our agenda tonight, something that's been worked on for over a year, and we're really excited to present that tonight. Next slide. So fiscal considerations. Next. Really, we've gone through a lot of budget meetings, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on that, but I think it's always nice to point out how even with the proposed taxes this year, Kaysville remains one of the lowest tax rates in Davis County. So we've traditionally been in that bottom, third. With what's coming this year, we'd still be number 11 out of 15 cities, lowest. So, and then I think it's always interesting, helpful to understand, where do my property taxes go? When you get your property tax bill, the city gets about 20% of that total. Most of it, as you may know, goes to the school district and other taxing entities. So we do a lot with, I think, a relatively small piece of that pie. And next slide. So future challenges and priorities. Interestingly, I had this slide on last year, and I didn't change a single thing except for one bullet point. The only one I added was increasing state and federal regulations. And that's something I probably should have put on last year, but every year we're seeing a lot of bills being pumped out of the state legislature, out of the federal government, and these are often unfunded mandates, new requirements that we have to comply with, new reports, different things, and so there's just more and more to do to keep up with those things, those new laws and reports and different things that are required. But our big ones, I think, are always going to be, as we talked about, aging infrastructure, whether it's streets, water lines, power, even our buildings continue to age, and we're trying to do a better job each year of projecting what are those future needs, how can we make sure we're sustainable, responsible, and ensuring that we're taking care of our city and not digging ourselves into a hole. Every year we want to be maintaining and staying ahead of that curve. But one of the challenges is rising costs. Since COVID especially, we've seen outrageous increases in the cost of everything we purchase, from asphalt to water line replacements to vehicles. It's all becoming more expensive. And then attracting and retaining staff is always a priority. We've seen turnover. I think in the past 12 months we've lost 21 employees. 3 of those were to retirement. But we know we're going to lose some staff. That's normal. But we want to make sure that we're not losing too many, because every time you hire a new person, there's investment in training that person and bringing them into the city and getting that institutional knowledge that they gain as they stay here. So we want to do a good job of balancing that. And then we talked about the fire station. A lot of this is from our strategic planning meeting we had several months ago, kind of priorities that came out of those meetings. We want to do a better job with making sure we have good streets and connectivity with our trail systems. A priority also is just aesthetics and making sure that we have a nice city. When people come into Kaysville, it should look nice, whether it's our parks and our trails or just a nice looking roundabout. We want a nice city that people can be proud of. And then we're always trying to do better with communication, and thankful for the departments that have done, the police department, the power department, Parks and Rec, Fire have done outstanding jobs of putting out timely information and a lot of good stuff on social media. Anne Marie is one of her many hats besides city recorder is to be basically our PR person, and she puts together a fantastic newsletter every month, and grateful for that. And then we'll get into this a little bit tonight again with our small area plan, but we're always trying to look at our downtown and making sure it's healthy and vibrant and a place where residents enjoy coming to, and so that'll continue to be a focus. And then last but not least, it's a small project, but it's kind of a big one to many people, and that's finding something to do with this library building next door. So we're hopeful that we'll have a plan soon for that. And that is everything. So
Thank you.
thanks.
I'm so glad that so many people are here to hear the state of our city. We are very proud of the work that's happened over the last, multiple years in Kaysville. It's a great place to live. Hopefully you love living here as much as we do, and we're all proud of our city. And I appreciate the council, the staff, everybody, directors, for doing everything that they can to make sure that it remains a beautiful city. So appreciate you as residents also giving us your feedback and all the participation that we have. Thanks, Jason. We are on item number 4, conflicts of interest. Is anyone? Oh, I'm sorry. Call to the public. Forgot. Okay, we have 2 people signed up for call to the public. The way it works for those that are new is you have 3 minutes. There'll be a timer. We don't interrupt you. We listen to you, and then we appreciate your comments. And so come on down, Matthew Lemon, and then Lorraine Starkey. Well, we won't start it till you get to the mic. Don't worry.
Proud and defiant, we'll slay the giant. Let us seize the day. Hello, City Council, Mayor Tammy Tran, City Manager Jason. My name is Matthew Lemon. I am a Kaysville resident. I am an Eagle Scout. I am a human being. I am a person. I have feelings. I have emotions. I have rights. But those rights have been egregiously violated by local law enforcement, including the Kaysville Police Department. The Law Enforcement Code of Ethics states that the fundamental duty of law enforcement is to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence. The exact opposite of what law enforcement has done to me. I am a permanently disabled adult. I am on the autism spectrum. I am a kidnapping survivor. I am diagnosed with severe post-traumatic stress disorder, severe social anxiety, complex post-traumatic stress disorder as well. I am protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act. I have an invisible condition. I am a vulnerable adult. I am a member of a protected class. And my life has been ripped to shreds by police violence. During the past 6 months, I have been targeted for bullying, stalking, intimidation, and continuous harassment from law enforcement. I have been swatted twice in 6 months. I was battered by Kaysville police officer Tyson Embley, Officer Embley, and I have sent a video link to each of you of that event. It is indisputable, hard evidence, and I have mounds and mounds of recordings, audio, video. I have evidence. Just like the stuff that's happening in American Fork, I have evidence. Look it up about the Lego theft. If you haven't heard about it, you should know about it. I was sexually assaulted and physically tortured at the Davis County Jail. I have been targeted for continuous harassment and retaliation designed to silence my voice and prevent me from holding wrongdoers accountable. I am horrified by the lack of accountability within law enforcement, especially the Kaysville Police Department. Where is the accountability? What kind of a police department steals a citizen's car in retaliation for First Amendment speech, for protected free speech. My time is up. Thank you. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free. His truth is marching on.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Lorraine Starkey.
Thanks. My name is Laureen Starkey, and I just would like to indulge in a fun memory. 20 years ago, my husband and I visited Val's sister in Kaysville. We attended the parade, the musical Sound of Music. The feeling was special, almost magical. It was elevating, respectful of identity, character, history. Within 6 weeks, we had moved here. My daughter learned in her congregation that her parents were moving to follow her to college. I would like to speak to 2 items on tonight's agenda about character and history. The 80 East Center Street rezone and the small area plan. And I would like to raise a question that connects them both. Kaysville does not have a historic preservation ordinance. That means that when a 120-year-old church, one of the oldest structures in our city, comes before the council for a rezone, our only tool for protecting it is a voluntary development agreement. Voluntary agreements, we have heard in this room, can be renegotiated, they can lapse, they can be non-binding. They do not run with the land the way an ordinance does. Utah law fully authorized cities like Kaysville to adopt a historic preservation ordinances, to designate landmarks and require design review before demolition, and also to create a preservation commission. I believe that we have a commission. Cities like Provo, Ogden, and Springville have done exactly this. Beyond that, I am learning that if Kaysville were to become a certified local government through the Utah State Historic Preservation Office, our city would be eligible for federal preservation grants, money that could help protect and restore historic structures at no cost to the taxpayers. The small area plan being considered tonight is the right place to establish this commitment. Once adopted without preservation language, the opportunity may not return for years. I would respectfully ask first that tonight's development agreement for the 80 East Center include binding permanent historic preservation language, not merely voluntary commitments. And second, that this council direct staff to explore adopting the historic preservation ordinance and pursuing the certified local government status through the Utah SHPO. Kaysville's character is worth protecting in law, not just in spirit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Starkey. All right. Conflicts of interest, anyone? Nope, nothing to declare. Okay, we'll move on to item 5, A through F, consent items. Would someone like to make a motion on our consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve consent items A through F.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item 6A, consideration of a rezone request at 768 West Christopher Circle from RA Agricultural Residential to R120 Single Family Residential for Nicholas Raker. Did I say that wrong? This was a tabled item from the last meeting. We have additional information this meeting. We do have 6 people signed up to speak. So I'll have Ann present this item, and then we will have our speakers come up.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. I'll just give a brief overview, given that this item has already come before the council. Nicholas Racker is asking for a rezone from RA Agricultural Residential to R120 Single Family. His property is located at 768 West Christopher Circle. And following the previous council meeting, the The applicant did submit renderings of the proposed structure that would be attached via a breezeway, providing these visual renderings to staff to help aid council in the review of the item. As a reminder, it is an RA zone property adjacent to other R120 properties bordering the rear end, and it is a single-family use, which is in line with the future land use map. The item was noticed as per our usual policies with 49 notices mailed out and 2 phone calls, and it went to Planning Commission on May 25th, where it received a 5-1 vote to recommend approval. Staff recommendation is still to approve the rezone request, but the applicant is here to answer questions, and staff can elaborate as needed.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Appreciate that. All right, so I'll invite you up in the order that you've signed up. The first is Gary. Is that you're asking? Okay, Gary. Then Larry Hardy. Then Paul Toller. Then Bobby Shepard. And then Paige Bennett. And then Brett Garlick. If you'll come up in that order, thanks. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Gary Uresk. I live at 422 Joshua Drive. I don't live in the immediate vicinity of this, but I do live in the neighborhood, and I know most of the people involved. And I've heard a lot from the people, and maybe it's good that I start off because I'm not personally affected by this. I won't have to drive by it every day. I won't have to look out of my yard to look at it. So hopefully I can look at it maybe from a very objective point of view. Could you bring back the elevation of that structure? You know, the question I want to ask the council is when in Kaysville did we start approving commercial type buildings in our residential zones? You know, I've got my degree in urban planning, and I started in the design school and then got moved over to the government school. I actually like government more, so that was good. But I did learn some design things, and neighborhoods have designs to them. And if you drive through that neighborhood, that sticks out. And if you live in that neighborhood and you have to drive by that every day, you're going to have, it's going to affect you, and it's going to affect the neighborhood. And so I guess the question I have to the council is, again, why are we approving commercial type buildings in residential zones? I'd like each of you to reflect on that. If that was across from your home and you had to drive by that every day, how would you feel? So I think, you know, in the last meeting, I think Councilmember Hunt brought up the idea of a possibility of a development agreement. And, you know, this rezone is a discretionary act to the council, and I would suggest that, you know, Mr. Racker certainly has his property rights, but I think all of the neighbors have their property rights as well. And so I think a balance between it is to maybe have him change that character of that building so it meets the neighborhood. That is a deep concern for the neighbors. Also, maybe I want to bring up one issue that maybe Mr. Racker, I assume he's going to present, is that I've heard a lot of things, and again, grapevines are interesting, but I've had a lot of people brought up the issue, is there going to be a dwelling in there? And you know, I don't know. But I think it would be appropriate to ask him as a council, is there going to be a dwelling in there? I know there was a bathroom, I think was shown in the drawings in the last time we saw it, but I'd like to know that and have him respond to that. So I guess the purpose of me here coming before the council is I think you need to weigh, you know, Mr. Racker's rights versus those of the neighbors. That's your responsibility of our elected officials. And so I would just ask you to do that at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Paul Solar. My brother Brent is traveling and asked that I address the topic with the council. I would implore you not to vote to create a peninsula or an irregular line to Kaysville's well-thought-out zoning map. If you look, if approved, the home at 768 West Christopher Circle will be one home on a cul-de-sac in a zone different than every other home on the cul-de-sac. That's not good public policy. To amend our zoning map based on a single property home or owner's request. The Planning Commission isn't always consistent. You know, recently we heard a very meritorious request. Some people wanted to build an auxiliary building with an apartment in it. They were going to attach it to the home, and they wanted to rezone. They were doing that for their special needs child who was becoming an adult. And so it was a difficult decision. But we voted that down because it wasn't in keeping with the surrounding zone and the surrounding uses. You've heard some arguments, and there'll be more excellent arguments on whether the building should have ever been permitted in the first place, whether it's on a frontage, so on. Regardless of how you come down on that issue, I'd implore you not to exacerbate the harm by creating a single home on a cul-de-sac in a unique zone and distorting the clear and straight lines of our zoning map, which residents, I know I did, review before they buy a home in Kaysville. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Larry?
Just to begin with, I recognize and agree that there are other large metal buildings that have been built in our neighborhood.
Please state your name.
I'm sorry, Larry Hardy.
Thank you.
There have been other large metal buildings built in our neighborhood. The difference here is that this one is in a side yard abutting a street. And if I could just read briefly the ordinance 17-31-2, it says, all accessory buildings shall comply with provisions of this title. No accessory building shall be located in any front yard, required side yard, or yard abutting a street. Again, yard abutting a street. This yard, side yard, abuts Kays Drive. There's one exception, and that is for a small 200 square foot storage shed type building is allowed. But even that says it's not allowed if there are homes on that same street with their front yard abutting that street. So the approval of this building in the first place, I believe, should have been denied because of that ordinance, because it does abut that street. But even though it wasn't, and there was some maybe disagreement about what that ordinance says, at the very least, I think there should have been a public notice and a public hearing prior to that building permit being issued. There was not, and as you know, building permits have a 10-day limit for appeal. I know that I didn't know that that was going to be a metal building within 10 days of that building permit being issued. And now, if it's attached, it's still going to look the same as if it had been unattached. And rather than being an addition to a home, a brick home, it's going to be a large metal commercial building attached to a home. And I don't believe it's appropriate. I'm hoping that you can help us come to some kind of an agreement where the structure can be modified, the plan can be modified so that it does fit in more with the neighborhood and with the appearance of that with that existing brick home. I believe that the city, by approving this against the ordinance and then not allowing us to have a public hearing, a public
notice and a public hearing did a disservice to everyone involved, including the Rakers. They have spent a lot of money. I appreciate that. But if this had not been approved and if we had had an opportunity to have a public hearing, we could have resolved this long ago. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mayor and council members, my name's Bobby Shepard. I live right down the road. I'll drive by this property every day. So considering the building is already approved and a lot of the questions are about aesthetics, I do want to give you my opinion on this. But at the same time, if the question is just about a breezeway and a rezone to do the breezeway, I don't know why we would stop that when it seems like aesthetics is the main problem from the community. It will add to the building. It will make for its use. It's better for the homeowner. But I do want to read my prepared remarks. And I appreciate that many neighbors have strong feelings about the appearance of this structure. Reasonable people can disagree about aesthetics. That's precisely why our city has ordinances and the approval process, to provide objective standards rather than subjective judgments. In this case, the property owner followed process and received the city's approvals. Based on the approval, significant financial commitments were made and construction moved forward. I believe homeowners should be able to rely on decisions made by their local government. If approvals can effectively be revisited after construction has begun because opinions have changed, it creates uncertainty for every resident who undertakes a major project. I also believe consistency matters. If similar structures have been permitted in the past, then the same standards should be applied fairly to everyone. Equal treatment under our ordinances is essential to maintaining public trust. If the council believes the city standards regarding aesthetics should be revised, that is certainly discussion worth having for future projects. However, it would be unfair to change the expectations for someone who followed the rules, obtained approval, and acted in good faith. I encourage the City Council to uphold the integrity of the approval process, apply the ordinances consistently, and allow residents to rely on decisions made by their city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Paige Bennett. I'm here in support of the Rakers, and part of the issue that I see is that when conflicts of interest are declared, when the Planning Commission met, Paul Toller is the brother of the person that lives across the street, and then he spoke here tonight for his brother. I see that as a conflict of interest, so that 5-1 vote really should have been 5-0. On top of that, I support this if we let neighbors tell everybody else what they can do with their buildings, what color they can have their house, what color they can do whatever. We're doing away with the rights of each and every citizen. Everybody's got strong opinions. We're all going to disagree. I agree with about everything that Bobby said when he was up here in support. I just think it's disingenuous not being able to talk as neighbors and having to bring it before the city. We're not here talking about the design of the building. We're here talking about a zoning request to change so that there can be a breezeway put in. The building's already approved. It's going to be built, and it's in the process of that. Making it more functional, making it match the same zoning as the backdoor neighbor isn't going to affect a lot of, it's not going to affect the other residents of that circle. I'll be brief for time, just knowing that I support the Rakers in this and that the zoning should be approved.
Thank you, Paige.
Good evening, I'm Brett Garlick. First of all, I agree that people should have property rights, and I also agree that I think the Rakers have done what the city has told them to do. I think the city has made a huge mistake here, and there's other things going on to hopefully correct that. But if you recall, this item was tabled in the last meeting, and the council asked the Rakers to go and talk to the neighbors and to show us, you know, the renderings, all that stuff. We didn't hear from them. Neighbors reached out to them, crickets, we didn't hear anything. So the intention of tabling it, there was no progress other than seeing that picture of that barnuminium they're gonna put up there. They mentioned that others have done it and there's others in the neighborhood. I would say a couple things. First of all, most of those are in people's backyards where you don't see them. They're not on a major thoroughfare through the neighborhood. The others is, I would just say, just because it's been done in the past doesn't mean it's right. And as a matter of fact, I think every one of those are probably done incorrectly and approved by the Planning Commission and by the Building Department incorrectly. I think that nothing's really changed from when I spoke last time. People expect when they buy in a neighborhood, they read the CCNRs, and I know people on the council saying we don't want to try to uphold CCNRs, but I think it would be nice if the city would at least respect them. People buy in there because they want the look of the neighborhood, and this is going to significantly change the look of the neighborhood. And by changing the zoning, it's going to allow them to connect to the house, and I think as Mr. Uresk said, they're planning on renting out their pickleball court or putting an apartment in there and renting that out too, which changes everything that wouldn't be allowed if we allowed this zoning to change. So I would still ask that you not approve the zoning change, ask for a development agreement so that they can still build everything that they want, but make it look like the neighborhood, because that's what people expect when they live in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garlick. All right. Council, would we like to hear from the applicant, or would you like to, do you have any questions?
I had a quick question.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. Let's see, Mike, I wanted to ask Mike about something because he's former inspector, and maybe help clarify Larry Hardy's definition of the ordinance in the side street.
If you look at our ordinance, you'll see that it says you cannot have an accessory building in a required side yard. Then if you look in the R1 district, it'll say that on corner lots, a side yard abutting a street is known as the side yard abutting a street. And you have to have at least a 20-foot setback in that, and they've met the 20-foot setback. It's technically a side yard all along there as a side yard on a corner lot. Okay. It's not a side yard like in a normal place where you have the side yard is from the front yard to the backyard. That's considered a side yard. That's why a lot of times when you see a side yard that's 16 feet wide, you have to have 8 foot if it's an 8-foot side yard, but that other 8 foot you can literally add to your house or put a shed in there. But in this case, it says that you cannot have accessory buildings in required side yards. And if you look at our definitions and you look at the ordinance, it shows that on a corner lot, the side yard abutting a street is required to be 20 foot. That's what the building department did. They made sure that it was more than 20 feet, well, it was 20 feet off the property line, and that's what they've done.
Okay. So essentially what you're saying is that it isn't in the side yard because it's not within that 20 feet.
If it's, I mean, I haven't gone down and measured it, but if they've kept it the 21 feet off the sidewalk, then it's got the 20-foot side yard.
Okay.
It meets the requirement.
Nick, will you help define conflict of interest? I don't believe that Paul Toller was in a conflict of interest in that situation. I several times have had things come before the council that family members, friends I mean, essentially now I'm friends with everybody in Kaysville, so anything coming, I think elected officials or representatives, that's the very essence of us being in this position, is that we are representing the people around us, including family members.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, in simplistic terms, you basically have a conflict of interest where you have to recuse yourself or abstain from voting when you have some kind of typical financial gain, direct financial gain to be gained from it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify those two things, Mayor, I guess before we get started. I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Adams. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Would you like to hear from the applicant? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Will you come on up? Thank you. Councilmember Hunt. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Okay, so I do remember the last time we were here, we asked a couple questions. So I think the first one, we kind of talked about a development agreement, but didn't kind of press it then. Mike brought up a good point that the foundation may not be able to bear additional weight. Is that right, Mike? Is that kind of what you said?
If that's how the
And so I guess I'm wondering if you followed up on that at all, or whether
Yeah.
you know whether or not your foundation could handle any sort of additional.
It's not the foundation itself. It's a pretty sturdy.
Steel column.
It's
Okay,
steel
it's steel
columns.
columns.
The whole thing's been engineered and designed based on the plans that were approved by the city.
Right.
So if I were to go back and put brick or anything, the wind shear loads and everything like that would have to be changed, and I'd be out $400,000.
Okay.
And so. I understand some neighbors want me to put brick and stucco on it, but after consulting with my engineer, I can't unless I scrap the entire thing and $400,000 out the window and then start over at that point. And I haven't had any neighbors that are willing to, foot that bill to appease their designs that they would like.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and I mostly just wanted to know if you'd followed up because it's helpful information for me. And then I guess another question is whether or not you've had an opportunity to speak with any of the neighbors and get any, I mean, obviously, like you're saying, it sounds like there's not much you can do as far as the facade material goes, but I mean, any other ways you've been able to talk with them or?
Yeah, I understand their concerns. They want brick, they want stucco. The CCNRs specifically speak to, which haven't been enforced. There's no committee that enforces them. They've just been arbitrarily trying to enforce them on me, apparently, but they haven't been doing it to other people that are within those CCNRs. But I understand they want brick, but nobody's following those rules. Like even Mr. Garlick, he has a wood shed in his backyard that's visible from Kays Drive, the same orientation as my house, and it's not brick or stucco. And so I understand their concerns, but I went with the city. I consulted with them for a year prior to even doing a building permit. I read all the laws. I wanted to make sure everything was kosher and up to spec and followed all those rules. And then I've been proceeding as is with the design. And so I'm really just here for trying to connect it with the breezeway to make it more usable, but I understand their concerns. I just can't do anything about it without being out $400,000 currently.
Sure. No, yeah, I understand that. I think my question was more just since the last time we talked, have you had an opportunity to talk to them and at least maybe explain your constraints, like you just said to me, with them?
Yeah,
at all?
I have, like I've chatted with people that have, when I'm out and about, people have come talk to me. I don't know where, nobody's come knock to my door and asked me about it or stopped me when they've been driving by, but I've been out and about and I've talked to some neighbors that we've chatted about it, but as far as changing it, I can't do anything about it.
Right,
so,
right.
yeah.
Okay. I think that was most of my questions. I may come up with more, but for now,
Okay.
I'm good.
Real quick,
Go ahead.
maybe.
Councilmember Jackson, go ahead.
Okay. It was brought up tonight, a question of whether someone's going to live inside that building. What exactly are you going to use that for? Is someone going to live in it?
Yeah, I'm not sure why people are making up things and trying to obscure the issue here. Like I had mentioned last time, it's a pickleball court. There's a bathroom there, so people can use the bathroom while they're playing pickleball court. It's a private pickleball court. I don't know why they're saying I'm renting it out. I haven't even built it yet, for one. But we do have essentially a half bathroom, a toilet, and a sink. Very simple. There is no apartment in there. There is no renting it out as an ado or anything. So that's just people conflating and essentially making things up. It's just a pickleball court and then like a garage, and then like there's a mezzanine above for like gym equipment and stuff. Okay. So that's all it is.
Okay, and so you mentioned you would be out $400,000, and it's not built yet. So you've already pretty much bought the building, right?
Yeah, it's essentially the concrete's built, or so I've like $180,000 in concrete that's been paid for, and then that was designed for that building, and then the building itself is actually stamped and sitting down in Salt Lake right now, accruing like $2,000 a month in storage fees because we've had the delays with the concrete issues we've had. So it's already built, so it's about $200,000 in metal and just under $200,000 in concrete. Okay. So it's Okay. So it's just not erected yet, if that makes sense. But they're coming closer to that very soon. So.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions?
Yeah,
Councilmember McBride? Sure.
Sure. So I've been watching this back and forth, and I feel what you're going through right now. It's my understanding that the city does not get involved with CC&Rs. Is that correct?
Yes, and I just wanted to clarify why that is, because, well, we know why it is. CC&Rs are different depending on the development, and so the city cannot apply a code that would cover all the different nuances to CC&Rs, and so that's why we do not require the applicant to come in and abide by the CC&Rs, but that is a civil issue, right, Nick? So we have to have a code that will be uniform across the city, like people have mentioned. We want to be fair.
Yeah, our review is city's review, and city's purview is legally limited to city ordinances, state law, federal statutes. And CC&Rs, sometimes we get those at development, but they can be amended, they can be dissolved. So it would put a lot of time and effort on our planning staff to find those, make sure they're up to date, and be responsible to ensure that everything that's happening is also in compliance with CC&Rs, because those change and can change very fluidly based on the structure of the HOA or the governing organization.
Okay. Right, but obviously it's up to residents to abide by those, and then it becomes a civil issue if residents don't and neighbors have an issue with it. Then that's what they take up. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, so that's what I just wanted to comment, and I feel both sides of this going back and forth. Your side, I feel the resident side, and as much as I would like to look at it and say, we got to do something to make it, because just like we opened the meeting, teamwork is dream work. It's always good if we can always work together, but sometimes things don't always mesh. And so it would be something that, although I have a lot of empathy for the neighbors, I do understand that as well. So, okay.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Adams, did you have another question?
No, I think that can answer with the living. I appreciate. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I appreciate the answer. I think there was talk, and I believe that, to the Gary's credit, he said it might have been a grapevine thing going on, but that there was a dwelling above where there would be a possible accessory dwelling unit. And so thank you for answering that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you. So council, what we have before us is a rezone application, not a permitted application. The permit's already been approved. He already has the kit. He's already started construction. So we're not deliberating whether or not it can be built. We're deliberating whether or not we should rezone it to allow for the breezeway. So that being said, I'm ready to entertain a motion if someone's ready to make one.
Or comments,
or did you want
no?
to have comments, questions, conversation?
Maybe.
I have one more comment too. I'll let you go first, though.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that, again, this comes back to like the last time when we tabled this. My biggest thing is when we're talking about a legislative decision, a rezone, then it becomes legislative, and legislative actions require a lot of due diligence in order to appease the neighborhood, because the neighborhood bought into that neighborhood with the idea and the understanding that the zoning would be what it is. Whenever you rezone, you're changing the nature of that neighborhood. and you have a responsibility to those who have purchased and built their homes in that neighborhood, to them. And I think in this situation, it's not about the building, it's not about what the building will have on it, because our team has already approved that. But when it comes down to the legislative decision to rezone it, I believe that's when it becomes something where you listen to the concerns of the neighborhood. And in this case, I feel like there are some situations that haven't been resolved, and I wish there would have been an open house or something that would show that there was an effort to get the neighbors, the different neighbors, to be more on board and help them work with the applicant, because right now I don't feel like they've been appeased, and rezoning it would be a disservice to those neighbors.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson.
I agree with Councilmember Adams. I have sympathy for the money that's been invested into this, and you're complying with the state, or the city regulations and ordinances, and so you really haven't done anything that's out of the norm. And I hope that neighbors, yourself, that neighbors won't let this get in the way of relationship and feelings, because ultimately it's not worth having hard feelings for each other just over a building. But with that being said, costing $400,000, I like to see compromise. I like to see back and forth within neighborhoods and neighbors, and spending that much money, I felt like there probably could have been a little more investment done to have something blend within the neighborhood. And I'm concerned about, this isn't necessarily a spot zone, but it's kind of a carve out. And so I do have concerns about this. I think as a city, we probably need to change a few things. Since this property is on a corner lot and it appears to be almost in the front yard, it's not. And so I agree with Councilmember Adams that in good conscience, I just cannot support this. But.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Hunt.
Okay. I think everyone said a lot of really great things tonight. And I would like to also echo Councilmember McBride with his comments of just like, I understand and I feel all the feelings on like both sides. It's such a, our property is such a huge impact in our lives, and it's where we spend a significant amount of time. So some of my thoughts going into this, well, I don't know, maybe I'll backtrack a little bit. And Jason can attest to this. I came in this week, or maybe last week, thinking about this, not necessarily this property, but this situation in general, where we're seeing a lot of these large buildings being built on properties, and trying to figure out what we can do to kind of help, I guess, facilitate the process, so that the outcomes that a lot of the people have expressed tonight, that we can see these where they come, people follow the laws, and everyone's happy at the end. And so that's, I think, an ongoing conversation that Jason, and that I would love as a council to see us keep moving forward on, especially as we move forward with the external accessory dwelling unit conversations that we're having in the next few months. So I guess I bring that up to say we're working on it. We're trying to make the process better, and we appreciate all the input that we've received from neighbors and from just people in Kaysville in general. This is not the only people who've come to talk to me. And then I guess, like Councilmember Adams said, this is a legislative action. Obviously, when you buy a property, you have the property rights that come with that property. In this case, the property came with the property rights of agricultural property. But I will say, I would kind of want to distinguish maybe, I don't necessarily think we need to appease the neighbors, although I think that was fine, so much as exercise neighborliness. And I hope this doesn't come off as a dig at anyone. But having seen a lot of situations like this now over the past 4 years, people come, they're upset, but I have seen successful situations where neighbors are able to come together and make compromises. I understand that this situation maybe had some limited ability to compromise, since a lot of a lot of the things had already been done, and it might not have been financially feasible. But even when compromises aren't possible, I think the respect of at least going to neighbors and explaining your thoughts, as we talked about tonight, the grapevine effect we had going on, I think could have been alleviated a little bit with maybe additional conversation. So I guess for me, I kind of agree with Councilmember Adams, Councilmember Jackson. As much as I love to allow people to exercise their property right with a legislative decision like this, I don't feel like it's, I have a huge appetite to make that change. And also echoing Councilmember Jackson's comments about kind of the carve-out thing. I'm just not, it's just, to me, when we take a legislative action, we're saying, I'm okay with this, and at this point in this process, I'm just not there.
Thank you. And these legislative actions set precedent, across the city. And that's one thing that we always are mindful of, because this isn't the only situation that's come before us. There's a situation in my neighborhood that was very, very similar to this. And so if we set a precedent and we rezone certain properties for certain specific reasons, it does look very much like carve-outs. And then we don't have consistency. So, and that's what we strive to do, to be fair to everybody. So. Okay, appreciate your comments. Would someone like to make a motion? Are we ready for that?
I'll make a motion that we, deny the rezone request at 768 West Christopher Circle from RA agricultural to residential R120 single-family residential.
Thank you. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 6B, consideration of a development agreement and rezone request at 80 East Center Street from A1 Light Agricultural District to CC Central Commercial District with an MU mixed-use zoning district overlay for Gonzalo Colquin. Calquin. Sorry about that. I am so bad at pronunciation. Okay, we do have two people signed up to speak to this, Emmy West and Mark Taylor, and we will turn the mic over to you in just a minute. If you will first, we'll wait for you guys to leave. Thank you. And go ahead, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Did we want to have the public comment, though, before?
You can go ahead and present, and then we'll hear public comment. Thank you.
So this item came before the Planning Commission on May 25th. Sorry, my computer's being a little cranky on me today. So this item came before the Planning Commission, and it was very well received. We only had, I believe, 2 people speak in the meeting, and the comments we received from the public through the Planning Commission submittal were speaking in opposition, not necessarily to the project, but to the potential traffic impacts to the adjacent elementary school. But the Planning Commission ultimately did recommend approval with the stipulation that staff work with the applicant to amend a portion of the development agreement speaking to the phasing of the project and at what point occupancy would be granted for commercial versus residential. But those changes have been implemented, and the project in substance hasn't changed from Planning Commission to the Council with those development agreement attributes included, and staff is recommending approval of the rezone as well as the development agreement.
All right, thank you very much, Anne. Okay, the 2 people that signed up to speak are Emmy West and Mark Taylor. If you'll come up in that order.
Hi, my name is Emma West.
Oh, sorry, Emma.
That's okay. I was with the previous proposal that came before the council. I was part of the ones that objected because I do live in that neighborhood, close to the Presbyterian Church and that parcel. And it's easy to object, and I did object. I don't think it was the right thing to do. But I'm just here to express support and thanks to the Wilds for being sensitive to the neighborhood. And they know that it affects us, and they've been in communication and asked for neighborhood input, and we really appreciate that. I feel the current proposed design integrates better with the residential areas and strikes a good balance between old and new, between history and preservation, and dealing with what is needed to move forward. Every generation has to make decisions about how to move forward with things. Things can't stay the same. If they did, the Bamberger Railroad would still be going right past that church. But less density is the correct choice here. And I appreciate Ms. Starkey bringing up the issue of historic preservation ordinances, and I agree that's something that should be looked into. But for now, I appreciate the Wild's efforts to meet the balance of old and new, and there's a need and a place for thoughtful consideration of both.
Thank you very much. Tucker will also add you as the third person.
Good afternoon. It's Mark Taylor. I'm not really here to speak for or against the development. In fact, it's probably a pretty good place for that type of development because we've got surrounding commercial businesses and rental units to the side. But I guess my concern would be the parking. The city spent considerable effort working on a city center plan. We put parking at 45-degree angles on the street to try and maximize that. My concern would be that we fill that with residents, owners parking in those spots that we've tried to develop for the businesses. So, it happens my mom's got a duplex in Salt Lake. They build a big apartment complex. They charge for the parking. The street in front of hers is loaded with residents. So that's my only concern really would be maybe reserve those 45-degree parkings for the businesses that are there, and the businesses along Main Street require homeowners to park. And I haven't looked at the parking to know how, if it's adequate or not, but require homeowners to park in their, designated spots and reserve those 45-degree parking for the businesses because that was the intent of putting those there. So that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Tucker Hunsaker.
Hi, I'm Tucker Hunsaker. I live at 41 South, 100 East, right across the street from the proposed development. I've talked to a lot of the council and neighbors. As you guys know, I was the one that started the petition that had over 800 signatures that opposed the previous plan. And, some people claim that we were just anti-development and wanted it to stay a field and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, our goal was just responsible development. We knew it wasn't going to stay a field forever. It's a great piece of land, and the church is very important to us and the community, and I agree it would be amazing to see it protected by the city so we can preserve that history, as it means a lot to us that live around there. But I just wanted to speak in support of it and share gratitude for Jacqueline and Ryan for doing what previous developers didn't do, which was just talk to the neighbors and listen. I think that was important, and I want to thank you guys for having some meetings with the neighbors and hearing our concerns. And as you notice, since this plan was proposed, we haven't called a meeting with you guys. We've had a meeting with them. It went great. No one has any complaints. I mean, there's concerns about preserving the church and making sure parking is reasonable. I agree with the person who spoke before me. That would be nice if there's some limitations. As you see on the side where the Kaysville Creamery is, there's a lot of homes have had to put gates and stuff right up front of their home. And as someone across the street, I don't know what can be done, but it's just something to think about. But yeah, I think out of all the options, this is a great one, and we all feel comfortable with it, and encourage the council to give it thoughtful consideration, because you guys know more than I do. But as someone who lives across the street, I feel good about it, about the developers and the plan, and yeah, so thank you guys for all your time and help with the neighborhood. It means a lot.
Thank you so much. All right.
Mayor, just real quick. I mean, I wish those folks would have
I
stayed.
know, I was going to say, I wish this was first.
To hear, literally when you have neighbors come and endorse a project, this is the very essence of legislative, anyway.
Right.
Very great job, you guys.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, would we like to hear from our applicants? Okay, come on down. She already did. What? She's just very short and sweet. Okay.
Do you present the project first, or do you, or is that?
I did present it, yes, that was
Oh.
before the public comment.
Yeah, she presented it, and she's just so good at presenting
Okay.
because
Yeah.
she's very succinct and
Too
very
efficient for
detailed.
my own
It's
good.
wonderful.
Perfect.
It's,
Okay.
it's fantastic.
I'm Gonzalo Calquin. I'm the architect on the project, helping Ryan and Jackie on this development. I wanted to start by just sharing when Ryan first called me about this project, he saw an opportunity, and as you guys have heard, the opportunity he saw was from the previous submittal where he saw a project that was clearly too dense, a lot of parking issues, some of the things we've heard, and Ryan and Jackie, if you know them, they're artists. That's how I describe them. Ryan's an incredible artist. Jackie is a designer, and they care about this property. They care about the church. They care about the neighborhood, and they had a vision. They had a very specific style of architecture that they wanted to achieve and propose for this site, and that's what you're seeing in this proposal. So that's kind of where this all stems is their love for design. As you can see, that 10 residential units is not something that you typically see in rezones like this. I do a lot of development, and this is the most overparked project that I've been involved in, which is refreshing to see. So those issues really don't, I guess, affect this project. But yeah, a couple of items that I wanted to address, and thank you for the people that had those comments. I think to that, one of the big items with this project that I think is a key difference from the previous submittal is that we have dedicated commercial space, which is actual viable commercial space. Typical project like this, I think they were proposing live work space, which really turns into just residential use and doesn't really become a viable commercial space. So we have dedicated commercial space with real tenants that are ready to build and anxious to build. And obviously that includes, continuing to use the church and finding a potential tenant to use that building as a commercial use. But two other dedicated commercial structures. The next one is meaningful and actually usable green space in the development. So I don't know if you could put up the site plan well. You don't have the landscape plan, do you? So anyway, on the bottom left of the site, you see that there's ample green space and a playground shown for, which is plenty of green space for 10 residences. Along with that, plenty of parking. Each townhome will have 2 garage stalls plus 2 driveway stalls, and then fully parked within the site. And then in addition to that, there's the on-street parking, which is just an added benefit, but we don't anticipate any need for any on-street parking. Yeah, we also feel that this project is a great transition from Main Street as you start to head east. It creates a lot of I think it enhances the walkability of the site and focuses on the businesses that are along Main Street, just by placing 10 homes in close proximity to those uses on Main Street, and some other additional commercial spaces here. Again, the huge reduction in density, I think we're less than half of what the original proposal had. I want to say it was 26. I don't have the exact number, but I think a number that was floating around was 12 as a potential target, and Ryan and Jackie decided to go with 10, just so that we could make sure that everything was well parked, well designed, and have space for all those fire lanes and everything you see on that site plan. Ultimately, and I think this is an important topic with this site, is the personal investment that Ryan and Jackie are making to preserve this church. As you can see in the site plan, we're not proposing to change that church, to move it, to destroy it, in fact, they want to, as part of the agreement, there's provisions there for improving the church, to be able to maintain it and find a user for it and keep it in this community for as long as possible.
I have a question about that.
Yep.
So I have received a couple questions from residents, just the order of things. What do you plan on doing first? Well, I was going to say, well, yeah, Jackie, will you come up to the mic? And I realize there's some language in there, but we'd like it to be addressed in our public meeting.
Yeah, and I can
Thank
probably
you.
speak to that question
Okay.
as well. So, in the development agreement, I think the most anxious is we are ready to build building B. Is we have tenants that are ready to own and build that building for their personal use. I believe, I don't know the language exactly in the DA, but the provisions are that we have to have footing and foundation passed on the commercial building before occupancy can be taken on any of the residential.
I believe the development agreement says you have to have occupancy in the commercial before you can get occupancy in the resident. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Let's see.
Mayor, I have the language right here, I believe.
Will you tell us, Nick? Thanks.
It's on page 7. It says, "No certificate of occupancy shall be issued for the townhomes labeled as Building A and D until Building B, the two-story commercial building fronting Center Street, has received a certificate of occupancy."
Okay, so nothing about the church.
And, but also to answer your question about the church, we'll immediately start on the church. We've
Will you speak in the mic, Ryan? Thanks.
I thought the development agreement, Nick, said that they had to start working on the church within 24 months.
Yeah. Where we'll be
Will be ready for commercial use.
in 24 months. We'll be
Oh,
starting
by
on the
then.
church.
Oh, I thought it was start. Oh.
No, we will.
Okay.
The church is actually going to be the first thing that anybody will notice a change happening to, because we have shown the church to potential tenants, and everybody's afraid of it because it's super ancient and got cracks in it. So we hired an engineer, and we are redoing the windows, the roof, we're refinishing the brick.
Get a new bell.
Wherever it's cracked, we're taking that out. So we're actually going to be
good
significantly into the church. That'll be the first thing that people will notice.
Section 3A2 in the development agreement.
3A2. Okay, thanks. My copy is not pulling very
Some of
well.
that's not in the agreement. I was just letting you know that that's been the plan. So since it scares everybody, and it would scare me too if I was buying it. But we're willing to put the money into it to fix the shell, structurally sound, windows, roof. Really, the brick is kind of going to be expensive to clean and fix the brick. But
For sure.
I feel like, in fact, when
Will
we
you
talked
speak in
to
the
Gonzo-
microphone?
We talked to Gonzo, the whole design and the aesthetic, it's, the church is critical. Like, that's where everything else stems off of. We want it to all aesthetically look pleasing and kind of have that same look. And so the brick will be similar color. It'll be a little more red like we have at our house. But anyway, I think it'll be a great fit. But we felt strongly about the church. Like, Ryan's had his eye on that for years. And just that, we think it is super important. Besides the fact you'd probably be haunted if you tear down a church.
Right, okay.
And
But there's just nothing that old
Right.
anywhere around that
It's
is
true.
so cool. And the history there, I just think we want to preserve that as much as anyone. So that's priority.
we actually already found a
Thank you.
search for bells to find.
Oh, did you?
The Liberty Bell,
Oh,
correct?
good.
You're going to be
Good, yeah.
purchasing
Shipping the Liberty Bell in.
actual Liberty Bell.
Cost as much as it, I think. But
Yeah,
they
thanks.
sold the bell a long time ago, so we were trying to find a similar.
Oh,
bell.
good. That would be neat.
I think everybody will be happy.
Really happy with it. So,
So-
one
I'll
other
have a few
question.
questions,
So one of the residents said, okay, since you do want to make it part of downtown, would you be willing to carry the lighting, the design lighting from this area into your neighborhood?
I can't think of what it looks like.
It's a decorative light poles. It's the green with a little.
If it's, I think it may be similar to what we have down Hill Farms, and that's what
Yeah,
we're.
exactly, it is.
Yeah, we'd like it
Yes.
to.
Okay,
just
have that
be
old
kind of
look, the old
extension.
town look.
Yes, that would
Okay.
be great.
As long as we don't have to manufacture them.
No, you, I'm,
There's
I'm
actually
just
some
making sure I
brownstones
understood.
in
Did
Salt
you say
Lake now.
lighting?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Lighting.
yeah,
Posts.
the lamp post, it's just, someone made that comment that we want to, kind of make it blend, and would you be willing to do that? Okay. Okay, super, sounds good. Sorry, did you have a question down
I have
here?
a few questions.
Councilmember Adams?
And are you guys okay all standing up there? It's probably because I don't know who will answer them. Sounds like you answered the parking. I don't know how we can restrict folks from parking in those outside area, but maybe there can be something, recommendation, something along those lines. I guess I'm still trying to explore how that will work, but I just don't want you to feel like you haven't been heard, and how we could increase the recommendation that those occupants in those first 4 houses, use the back parking.
Councilmember Adams, I
Yeah.
apologize. That's addressed in the development agreement.
Oh, great. Well, then there you go.
The CCNRs are going to restrict residents from parking on the street, and there won't be overnight parking. I believe the developer's going to put up several signs. saying that.
Great.
So that's
So
going to be addressed.
That's very good. And
In addition to that, especially for residential additional parking and overflow parking, there's going to be 37, however many commercial stalls we have that will serve at nighttime when the office space is not being used.
Awesome. No, I think it's great. One of the things, I couldn't quite read the measurements of the driveway, but I noticed that they were there. Do you know if those... Okay, thank you.
They're
It's like
a
always
minimum
like-
of 20 foot in length and 9 feet wide.
Always been my biggest question. Okay. This one may be a big one. So rentals, as far as I'm concerned, like I could see some rentals being in here, but also I wonder and want to discuss how many and how many will be owner occupied.
That's a very good question. I think it says 40%.
What it says is
That's
no.
correct.
No.
That's addressed in the.
It is addressed. I just.
Yeah.
You just wanted to make a public statement.
Yeah, and I'm also curious a little bit about if we would like to, or if there's any restrictions placed on how many people can buy units. One of the things we did in a previous development agreement and was that we limited the amount of units that one person can purchase. And we did that primarily just because there's been concerns in the past, specifically in Farmington, where an entire group has come in and purchased all of the units, which would be like an absolute dream for obviously somebody who's trying to sell all to one person. But
So what we did on the other developments, we said that, where it said, like in your development agreement, it says no fewer than 60 of the units in the project shall be occupied by the recorded owner of the project, and no more than 40% of the units in the project shall be rented. So in addition, could we add in that paragraph, and no more than 2 units can be sold to one person?
Yes.
One entity, sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that'd be a problem on this small of a.
Otherwise, we're afraid somebody will come buy those 4 units and they'll rent all those 4, and we lose that owner occupancy that we're trying.
the goal is to get families.
Right, we want families.
We live here, we want our kids to live in.
Exactly.
We want our kids.
Yeah.
But,
Same.
To that point, an interesting thing, we build larger neighborhoods, and when you go to get financing now, if you were selling them all, if they were all rentals to that finance, without finance, it's cheaper. So it is crucial.
That's too bad,
to get
yeah.
housing that people can actually purchase and own. That
Okay.
is our goal.
Thank you.
Okay, my last question, I'm going to comment again. I praise you guys. Like, honestly, a rezone that has people who live in the area coming in and recommending it is like, round of applause. The dumpster makes me a little nervous that like people driving out may not see the people, but maybe that's just fine. Maybe I'm being a little picky about but I would just, I don't know, maybe there's some way to make it so that, I don't know, like I just anticipate driving out this side and not being able to see cars coming the other direction.
John does drive kind of fast though too.
Well,
Take out the playground actually in there, so it's inverted.
anyway, just something to think about. I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not like spot, zoning or not zoning, but spot.
You're not spot dumpster placing.
Dumpster placing. But just something to think about in the long run. I always worry about when two roads meet and there's a blind something there. Yeah, anyway. Great job. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I personally don't think that there's really there's a 28-foot radius there. That's enough for a fire truck to turn around. So I don't think there's a visibility. Behind the dumpster is where cars are parked, so there's full visibility when you're on the road or on the lane. But typically, we show this ahead of time. Typically, these get left out of conceptual site plans, so it usually becomes an afterthought. So, yeah. So, just something to consider having, and we will make sure that all radiuses and visibility site triangles are met. So,
thank you, Councilmember Jackson.
Yeah, just a couple things. Depending on the type of tenant you have is that building E? I'm just curious if the type of tenant you have in there would attract residents who live nearby that are coming from Center Street.
Definitely. So
okay.
It's a company that just basically has employees that will be there.
Okay.
And I don't think they'll have any walk-in or anything like that. There's a different issue, but because we were talking about parking, we may even get some kind of agreement with the people that own the defense contractors that own that, and perhaps even, that on the bank parking lot, because that parking lot, as you know, could house half of Kaysville. But anyway, so then they could possibly even use some of that parking right there and just have an entrance into just their building, specifically that. But
yeah, the reason why I asked in case that fills up with the parking in front there, if you have folks walking to it, you might want to put a path from Center Street down that way.
Tenants we feel that we're talking to right now which I think are committed. They call us all the time and ask us how it's going. Are businesses with not a lot of foot traffic. I'm not worried about the cars.
Okay.
We know two of the guys, and I don't think they ever go to work, so they're not.
Is there any way you could recommend them to do something that generates sales tax revenue, though?
Well, that's our hope with the church.
Yeah.
But also to, if I may, to Councilmember Adams, I would advise, I'm sure you have people that buy land all the time and say, what can we do? What can we do? We've learned a lot. We've done a lot of developments, and I think that was key. Just respecting the neighbors, respecting the fact that they all live here, and it's important. We actually planned a meeting with them way before talking to anybody else, and I do think that has helped because it's only fair. Yeah, it's only fair, and I think just respecting them.
It's been good.
Another point, the parking. When I saw that when I reviewed this week, I loved it. We very rarely see development plans come in with adequate parking. So kudos to you. I think it looks fantastic. It's a perfect spot for it. One request, I would love to see some sort of bakery or food business go in the church, because with the employees you have here, plus we're going to get a bunch more employees in the corner in this big building here. I just think that would be fantastic. And I would visit that. So
yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah. And actually, one more thing real quick. Sorry. So if the city had a historic preservation ordinance, I'm just curious if you would more likely be qualified for grants, historic grants. And I looked it up, and not all grants require you to keep it exactly the same, because that can be really challenging when you're trying to fix an old church. And so I'm just curious if...
I don't think it would, especially if it wouldn't retroactively. By the time you got anything.
I would say that's a hard thing. The timing, I just wouldn't want to tie them to waiting for this approval, because it will take a long, long time to get it. Yeah. And then when we have looked into it, the grants are not substantial.
Okay. Yeah, I was
and
then
then
it's so.
It's just. But it's a good idea, and we get the preservation.
And I'm not sure if we have an ordinance, but we do have a restriction that if someone is to demolish something that's older than 30 or however many years old, and maybe you can help me, but they have to they have to contact, it was because something happened where they destroyed a historic building, it got demolished and nobody knew, so now they have to contact the Historic Preservation Committee. The Historic Preservation Committee has to have time to be able to go in and take adequate pictures and memorabilia and different things like that. Like, this whole thing is, we can't restrict people from tearing down old buildings. It's like that, they own the building. If they want to tear it down, they should be able to tear it down. But no, and I understand that you're not, but
If we did want to tear it down, the most you could do is delay it while you were doing that, but that, it takes longer to get the demo permit than to get them out.
and yeah, it's,
I know what you're talking about.
but that is part of the, so I just like to set maybe earlier comments at ease. There is an I don't know if it's considered an ordinance or.
Yeah, we passed an ordinance.
Yeah, we passed
that
an ordinance.
requires That before the demo permit is issued, the historic, I believe the historic.
Preservation
Committee.
Committee.
Preservation Committee is what we've called it, gets the opportunity to go to the site, photograph it, and in, under certain circumstances, I think they can have some of the demolished material. I could be wrong on that, but
Yeah.
there was historic.
So I agree with the citizen that said we should have something like that.
Yeah.
But this is the best way to do it, is through a development agreement with someone saying, we're going to do this, and
Right.
we are required
Yeah.
in a development agreement to not tear it down.
And
Right
it's
now, we should tear it
interesting,
down.
when you look up that architect, you look at all of the buildings that he was the architect on, and they're the coolest houses that you see in
Yeah.
Kaysville.
Yeah.
So it is worth preserving.
Well, we appreciate everything that you've done, all your efforts, collaboration, coordination. I'm excited about this project. Can't wait for you guys to start. So let's,
Mayor,
we ready for a motion?
can I just ask
Sure.
a couple questions? Sorry, before you sit down real quick. I just, so I was listening earlier when we were talking about, but can we just review one more time what the protections are for the church in the development agreement?
Sure.
Or Nick or whoever, sorry to
I mean,
keep
we
you up
could
here.
just read that section, was it 3.2A?
Sorry, and mine is so
Sorry, Nick.
slow, it won't.
I actually have it pulled up if.
Okay, you do? Yeah, pull it.
So it says renovation of building C, developer agrees to improve building C and make it available for commercial use within 24 months of approval of this agreement. All improvements shall comply with applicable city ordinances, building codes, and accessibility requirements in effect at the time that the work is performed. The planned improvements of building C shall generally maintain the existing appearance and character of the building while allowing modifications reasonably necessary to accommodate a functional commercial use in compliance with applicable codes and regulations. The parties acknowledge that the portions of the building may be modified to accommodate accessibility improvements, building systems, restroom facilities, and other improvements necessary for commercial occupancy.
Okay,
If you look
perfect,
at it,
thank
it's
you.
like a box.
Yeah.
On the back, there's an addition.
Yeah, yeah.
We wanted to put that in there because that addition part is gonna have to change to the
Right.
ADA.
That's the only
requirements.
substantial
Okay.
change you'll see.
But the
But
rest of it is
brick-
gonna stay.
But that wasn't even,
In fact, we
Okay,
had somebody that wanted to buy it, but they wanted to.
But
buy it.
in short, I mean, when you try to use an old historic building that's, to use for a potential commercial use, it's gonna have to go through some changes that sometimes historic, certain strict historic things don't allow.
Right.
And obviously this is, an existing commercial building. So yeah, I think that section addresses hopefully your questions.
Yeah, it did. And then I guess I'll just make a few comments briefly just to address. In the planning commission packet, some people reached out and said they were concerned about traffic. So that's not really you guys, but just to say that I know that the city's been working with the local school to get crosswalks and crossing guards in there. So I feel a lot better approving additional density. Just, I guess so everyone knows like the thought process we go through when we're doing this. I appreciate the amount of parking you've got. Like you said, it's got a lot of parking and I can see that and
And to
appreciate
speak to that real quick, I mean, we also had a traffic study done as part of our submittal. So
Right.
I don't know if you guys were able to review that, but I think with 10 residences and these businesses, the impact on traffic is extremely minimal.
Perfect, yeah. And then the other thing, just going through how many children it will contribute to the school, just for residents to know, probably like 3, based on the school district's kind of projections. So again, a lot of people say, well, if we put in density, there will be too many. But that school, last time I checked, was under full, and this will only be contributing potentially 3 students. So also another win.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 2.5 per townhome is their projection. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's gonna have half a kid maybe. No, so 3, just rounding up. But yeah, and so I guess, a lot of people have come in and said, well, it's definitely better than the last one. And to me, I didn't want that to be my metric. I wanted to say, does this fit? you know, because anyone can say, well, yeah, that was awful, anything's better, but I do like the concept you guys have come up with. I think you've thought of and addressed a lot of the concerns of the neighbors, which is apparent with you meeting with them. So thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
Just to clarify, you're okay with adding in the development agreement not to sell to more than 2 units?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Blackham.
You want to make the motion then, Mike?
Yeah, I can make a motion.
Oh, I
I'll
thought he was
make a-
making it. He is. He's just reading. He had to
I'll
put
make
his
a
glasses on.
motion for the consideration of a development agreement to rezone at 80 East Center Street from A1 Light Agricultural District to CC Central Commercial District with an MU Mixed Use Zoning District overlay for Gonzalo Calquin? Calquin, with one change to the development agreement that no more than 2 units be sold to any one person.
I'll second.
Or entity,
Or entity.
yes. Okay, thanks.
I'll
Okay,
second.
we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Jackson?
Aye.
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 Okay, good luck. Can't wait to see what you do with it. It'll be awesome. Okay, letter C, consideration of adoption of the Kaysville City Small Area Plan. We don't have anyone signed up to speak to this, and so I will turn the mic over to Ann.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. So just as a brief overview, this matter went before the Planning Commission in April, and it was, received a unanimous vote of approval. The comments that had been part of the discussion originally with the Planning Commission were all addressed by GSBS, and we got a resounding seal of approval from the Planning Commission, and we feel really confident that this plan reflects Kaysville and what we envision for the city.
Thank you so much. All right. Would you like to? Okay, come on up. Okay. Liz, I'm sure you have something to share.
Yes.
Great. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you so much for having us. Again, it is great to see you. We're really excited to be here tonight to kind of, we'll have unveiled the city center draft plan, and we're really pleased to have had some sessions with the Planning Commission and that they feel comfortable recommending this to you. And so I just wanted to do a quick presentation and we can go through some bits of the document as well, and then we can open it up to discussion and questions. So, let's see. And again, I'm Liz Jackson with GSBS Consulting, and I also have our principal of our planning team, Christine Richmond, here as well. So again, thank you for having us. So I'd like to run through this quickly. I'm sure that you all are very aware, but we can just kind of go through as a refresher for what this project purpose is and why we are here. So this city center small area plan for the Kaysville downtown area is to expand upon the 2022 general plan, which was determined by determined the city center as a priority for Kaysville. And you can see circled in red is kind of the area that's been determined as that area for this plan. It is to create a small area plan that functions as a tool and a guiding vision for Kaysville City Center. It includes the historic Main Street area, just right out the window here, and slightly to the north, the Main Street North neighborhood, and then the Mutton Hollow neighborhood. This plan will create a vision, goals, and objectives for the area, identify effective redevelopment strategies, improve the city center for residents and visitors, and further Kaysville's overall community vision in the general plan. So just to kind of give an idea of how the plan works, and some of these are just clipped directly from the plan itself. So the plan framework, we have goals in there, and then we have policies. So the goals define the outcomes the community wants to achieve. The policies guide decisions and priorities, and we've identified near, mid, and long-term steps for implementation to be helpful as an implementable plan. And this structure ensures that day-to-day decisions support long-term objectives. And then this is meant to be incremental reinvestment. So this plan, we've really worked hard to emphasize gradual phase change, adaptive reuse and modest infill, targeted safety improvements, public realm investments that reinforce identity, and predictable context-sensitive development expectations. So just to kind of show you a reminder of what we worked on for this process. So we've done some community engagement for the process, which we'll go through a little bit further. We did an existing conditions analysis, which is an attachment to the staff report that was put out for this meeting. Visioning to see what this could be. We've done that publicly as well as internally and with the city team, and then it all culminated into this small area plan. So for tonight, we're here to review overall's ideas and key takeaways from the draft small area plan. So we won't go through it page by page, but I know you've had some time to review it. But we'll kind of do the big picture items, as well as the meat, which is the strategies and recommendations section. We'll discuss the plan and any questions you have, and then collect any feedback. And our aim is hopefully for plan adoption. So just to talk about the community engagement element and what we've done. We have a project website, Engage Kaysville. We've done 3 public surveys at different incremental phases, just started out with a baseline survey and then moved into visioning and then into some more specifics. 2 open houses, 2 tabling events, and 4 community advisory committee meetings, and that was from suggested community members to us to meet and talk this through and kind of get some feedback, as well as 3 technical advisory committee meetings. And that was city staff, UDOT, UTA, our transportation sub-consultant, et cetera. So some key themes from the community input. Lots of themes emerged and they were pretty darn consistent. So safety and walkability was huge. So for this area, residents described difficulty crossing Main Street and 200 North, mentioned high vehicle speeds and uncomfortable pedestrian conditions. Parking clarity, that was a big one. So in theory, overall parking supply is adequate. We did a parking study initially with the existing conditions at a district level, so the overall city center, but it is shown that parking is unevenly distributed, poorly signed, and often perceived as unavailable or private, so something to be considering. Community character. Kaysville's hometown identity is tied to historic buildings, human-scale development, and a main street that feels familiar. Public spaces, residents express strong interest in modest, everyday gathering spaces, places to be together and come together, such as patios, small plazas, seating, shade, and a civic square. And then growth and change. So there is support for reinvestment and understanding of change, but paired with a desire for clear guidelines, predictable outcomes, and meaningful public benefit. So what ended up coming to us was a project direction. And a big part of this, kind of an overall idea for the plan, was 3 areas, 1 city center. And so yes, we have historic Main Street. That's very specific and an iconic area. Main Street North, more of a commercial corridor, kind of pass through, and then lots of parking and strip malls, and Mutton Hollow. So with more commercial and industrial uses. But we saw a little bit more for each of those. So for historic Main Street, yes, traditional downtown core, heart of the city, historic character and charm, but also there's an opportunity for it to be the southern gateway into the city center. And then Main Street North, like I said, transitional corridor, aging commercial areas, reinvestment potential, and Mutton Hollow, commercial industrial uses. It is a major opportunity just for the fact that there's some developable land still there. And for the future, it's something to be considering. And it's also a consideration to be the northern gateway to the city center. So you know you've landed in the city center when you come from that direction. So the idea here is that although they are distinct, and that is important to maintain what they are, that still the vision and implementation priorities, opportunity sites that we've come to call out in the report, transportation and connectivity options, streetscape and public space improvements, and coordinated investment all make it a cohesive city center. So for what we've come up with for the vision statement, guiding principles, goals, the general idea, the guiding light for the city center is Kaysville City Center from historic Main Street to Mutton Hollow will be a welcoming destination, not just a place to pass through. Building on the community's historic character and hometown spirit, the city center will offer vibrant shops, dining, and gathering spaces that create a true sense of arrival and belonging. And then they just kind of trickle down from there. So the guiding principles kind of give you whenever you have some questions of how do we, do we determine, does this fit in the city center or whatever with some type of development, these principles can guide that. So incremental change over time, safety before speed, fit matters as much as use, historic character is an asset, hometown identity is defined by experience, public space is public infrastructure, and clarity builds confidence. And again, these provide the foundation for the plan's recommendations. And then to move a little bit further, the goals that'll actually help move along the plan are reestablish the city center as a connected, walkable place, strengthen Main Street as the heart of community life, preserve and celebrate Kaysville's historic character, maintain hometown scale and identity, make the city center a place to spend time, support local businesses and economic vitality, and guide change with clarity and community values. And then based on Planning Commission's feedback, which we loved, we made a bottom line up front to kind of just summarize all of this. This plan focuses on emphasizing Main Street character, balancing access and parking with a walkable, people-focused environment that supports local businesses and everyday community use. It offers a clear vision and recommendations to guide future decisions and potential code updates without establishing new regulations itself. So just to kind of go over quickly some of the recurring topics. Again, parking and safety was huge. Even if we were talking about, businesses, economic, whatever, that always came up, and it was something that was really something that was always on our minds too. So parking in historic Main Street is a concern. Safety for families, cyclists, and pedestrians came up quite a bit. And Main Street is a UDOT-owned road. That is a big part, a big consideration for this plan. But there are opportunities for some measures to increase safety and a pleasant experience. And we did want to address up front, and we did this with Planning Commission as well, because it has come up. The angled parking on historic Main Street was brought up multiple times, but unlikely a solution unless a travel lane is taken out completely, just from spacing requirements. So, excuse me. Another recurring topic, maintaining the hometown feel. And this is a graphic that we wanted to kind of show some gentle density and infill options for the city center. Basically, people wanted to see places to gather and spend time for all ages, local businesses, connectivity. Hometown scale and feel was big, and we kind of had to determine what really that meant, because that kind of came up, especially it's also part of the city motto. But we kind of said, well, what exactly does that mean? And then considerations for historic elements, which has been brought up a number of times, which we ended up putting together almost a little plan for figuring out how to move forward with historic preservation in Appendix G. So, but again, we put this together to kind of show across all three sub-areas, the framework of the plan emphasizes buildings that reinforce a strong street level presence and active frontage, building heights that increase gradually and fit with the surrounding area, so nothing extreme, ground floor design that supports pedestrian activity and visual interest, and transitions that respect and integrate with nearby residential areas. So again, nothing too stark and drastic. So we kind of added this in the plan as well, just because we thought it would be helpful to give elements of a successful city center, not only just from just kind of planning in general best practices, but also what people said from our public engagement. So we added inviting and active storefronts, outdoor dining and street activity, gathering spaces, civic and event spaces, public art, and interactive features, which actually ended up being a point of discussion with Planning Commission, which was great. We love that feedback. And then parks and play areas, safe and comfortable streets, and clear wayfinding, which also was a point of conversation with Planning Commission, so we beefed up that explanation a little bit further. But we thought that could be a good, helpful guidance for the plan. So just to kind of go into the different areas, what we ended up doing with the plan was creating profiles for each of, again, we want it to be cohesive, but there's still different considerations for each area. So we created kind of a envisioning the future map for each spot, and then certain opportunity areas were identified. So for historic Main Street, again, not to be repetitive, but just to hit home, this is an iconic historic area and a southern gateway. Some really big areas for consideration were the former library and city hall site, and the Zion's Bank site just to the south here. And potential for civic plaza, gathering spaces, connectivity, and wayfinding to parking and navigating the city center. All things to be considered in this area. So what we ended up doing, and we, of course, I want to emphasize that this plan is visionary and not to be too prescriptive, but to be a guidance and to kind of show what could be for all of these opportunity areas. And the big one was the historic library and the civic plaza area. And a thing that came up a lot was that people wanted that space to gather, and it seems like there's some opportunity here. However, it still needs to be determined what happens with this site. So we wanted to give two options, what it could look like for if the library was kept or if the library went away. And so however the city chooses to move forward, there's a visual path there. And really, it was kind of similar, just depending on how you use the space, but similar in the elements that came out of this. So this is by having a cohesive, even though Main Street's pretty busy, giving good access from this side of the street to the west side of the street and those businesses strengthens the Main Street storefront presence and offers more connection and better circulation. This site does have existing parking, so continued use of the existing parking with better organization and access, that's an opportunity. And that maintains convenient parking while improving how people move between these areas. And then, of course, it brings connection to kind of the civic heart of the city. So you can have events here, whether small or large, food truck nights. There can be flexibility here. There can be flex parking, so you can kind of utilize some of the spaces for events, but then still use parking for regular city need. And we just wanted to show that. So, and a big part of this, which we wanted to kind of go further into, was there's such opportunity with the east and west side of the streets, but there is that divide of the current, unsafe, fast, and not great crossing, and especially perceived as not great crossing for Main Street. So a mid-block crossing came up a lot and seems like a really great opportunity, especially depending on what happens with a potential future plaza, to not only give more safe options between going from east and west side of the streets, but also saying you can cross here and it's safe, and giving some beautification of this area as well and landscaping. And it also gives a gateway element for this spot and showing that it's within the city center, giving it a bit of that identity. So just to kind of speak a little bit about the southern site. So the opportunity site that we found for the southern the southern gateway was the Zion site to the south. And we did a couple of iterations of this. And it seemed that this one kind of came to be for the future something that could potentially reinforce the Main Street scale, but also still have opportunity for parking, opportunity for connection and circulation, and still think about the existing businesses that are there now. So with this, you can see this could definitely be an opportunity for a vibrant commercial area. Again, it's a gateway, a sense of arrival. There's potential for maybe a green belt. Like, let me see if I can, I don't think you can see my cursor. So on the east side, there's a green way that has some connection opportunity from the southern end of this property up to the city hall site. So, and some greening of the sites, again, some beautification. Parking is still available to support uses on this site. And there is opportunity for comfortable communal site design, whether that be patio seating, so having that Main Street scale of commercial uses up against Main Street, but behind having opportunity for buskers, or if there's a restaurant, seating areas and landscaping, but having flexible gathering spaces and shaded areas for people to be comfortable and support those businesses and the neighbors around this area seems like a really great opportunity. So, moving into Main Street North, again, opportunity map kind of showing what could be here, what is and what could be. So, definite opportunity for reinvestment. This is that transition area to continue the Main Street scale development and further connectivity throughout the city center. 200 North and Main Street came out as a key intersection for future development as well. It's a central connection point, a transition from historic to more modern Main Street, and there's a real opportunity for local business there. So we just wanted to call that out in the plan. And there's also some great opportunity with the updates that are happening with 200 North. Future protected bike lane is planned to improve multi-user safety and east-west connectivity. There's a lot of potential there. And with Main Street North, just for our visual, for the visioning of this area, again, we didn't want to be too prescriptive. We just wanted to show with some of this blocking how that gentle density and infill, what that could look like, especially trying to maintain that Main Street storefront presence. And so a lot of things still exist that exist today, but this just kind of emphasizes the maintaining Main Street as a transportation corridor, but adding some landscaping, visual buffering, allowing for some of these businesses to push up to the street, again, to have kind of that Main Street scale and giving people kind of that opportunity to, they could drive, they could walk, they could bike to these and entice them to continue to come and stay in this area. Well-designed functional parking, there's a lot of opportunity there because there's a lot of parking that exists. And then working in tandem with some of the proposed amenities that already are proposed for this, like a bike lane that would be coming on Main Street up in this area, it just seems like a great opportunity. But again, this is very context sensitive, and we wanted to note that in here, that there are infill opportunities here, but incremental mixed use and commercial infill, that could be a way to have, again, that gentle infill come in, give some good opportunity, but not overload this site and have things go super high and super dense. So the next one is Mutton Hollow. And this one, again, it came up a lot with whether it was talking with community members, talking with city staff, and even just amongst our team. This is pretty rare to have a site like this where it's green, it's an opportunity that doesn't really exist in a heavily developed area of a community. So again, came out as a major opportunity. This really struck us as a northern gateway to really have people, when they land here, they know they come into the city center. It's a connection point to the city center and greater Kaysville and beyond. So again, big opportunity, and it's visible from I-15. But a part of our review did take into account the limited access from the freeway, and so that kind of determines what can be on this site. That'll determine who travels here and says, oh, it could be big box, but I don't know if I can get there from the freeway, kind of a thing. So that came into our minds throughout this process too. And then what also came out from all of our conversations was that this site had an opportunity for mixed development and more of an experience. Mm-hmm. So there could be many things here, but experiential was big. Let's see.
I do want to add, can I add something?
Of course.
As we're talking about these properties, just for some of these property owners, they've asked us to make sure that we know and that everyone knows this is not the city telling them what to do with their property. And this is not the city imposing our will upon those properties. It is completely up to the residents who own those properties to develop as they want, but it's providing them with maybe a vision for what could be. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mayor Tran, for saying that. It is, we heard, especially when we came to Planning Commission, that was important to emphasize. Mm-hmm. So we've tried to add wording.
Yes, thank you.
Kind of
that.
Sprinkled, not only in the beginning, but throughout the plan.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that you brought that up because it's important to note. It's a good thing to visualize. It's a good thing to maybe say, oh, this could be, but it all depends on what happens with the property.
Right.
Should this area stay in this family and stay the same and stay agricultural land? That happens. But development also happens. So having a kind of guiding light and something to potentially see for moving forward is good. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So we did for the area, again, it was hard to get around looking at this specific site at the top of Mutton Hollow, that green space. And so we're putting in here, we wanted to visualize the potential development. And what we included was integrated housing as a supporting use. Per the general plan, this area is intended to be mixed use at the future. And so we just wanted to work within that, but also respect the scale and wants, the scale of Kaysville, but also the wants of the community. So it's basically what we thought of as the experiential type of idea was, well, what does that look like? And a big one that came up was, okay, there's Gardner Village. It's a site that has shops. It's a site, it's a fun place to be. It's holiday activation. It's economically viable for the community. People come from all around to come and support that place. I go there. I took my daughter there to take pictures with pumpkins, type of a thing.
Right.
And so it's a definite asset to the community and beloved by so many. And in this instance, we thought, well, it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be a carbon copy of Gardner Village, although we did call it out as sample precedents in the plan. But for here, we thought, okay, well, we did some high-level economic analysis, and we said, well, if we want this to be a gateway, what would be supportive of that and what could be included? And what we have here is we have an emphasis on the Main Street storefronts. No matter what happens here, having that scale of the kind of smaller scale and pedestrian friendly, kind of any type of user friendly Main Street development is important. And so so that includes examples of pedestrian cell frontage with buildings at the sidewalk and supportive of walkability and local business visibility. So there's a blend in here. Local businesses, small shops at the front on Main Street, and then you can get into kind of larger size with parking, shops as you go further into there. And then, like I said, integrated housing is supportive of that. So there's opportunity here. They're very small scale, potentially townhomes, maybe quadplex type of development to offer opportunities for housing, but also support a kind of a cohesive ecosystem of supporting each other, the housing and the commercial uses. And then we've got an internal circulation route as well, and that could be, there's a roadway, but also potential for walking and biking, some green space in the middle for activation, playgrounds, and then a potential for open space and further trail connection. We've talked a little bit, people kept talking about the east-west connection, and so we kind of depicted that here. Maybe in the future, an east-west connector over I-15 could be a possibility. So, but bottom line, and you'll see in the bottom corner, again, what matters most along the frontage is not the specific use, but how it shapes the street. Buildings should front the sidewalk and contribute to a walkable, cohesive Main Street feel, supporting Kaysville's identity as a welcoming, hometown-oriented place, not just a commercial corridor. And again, we did a zoom in here, and we just kind of further hit home all of those ideas that it's important that feel of especially the Main Street development. And to kind of emphasize the experiential part of it, again, it just has to be right-sized for Kaysville. We didn't want to do that carbon copy, like I said, of Gardner Village, but you'll see there's different retail uses, commercial uses, but there's also opportunity to put patio spaces, places of connection, places to go and be, maybe some little micro events happening in those areas. And it's just an opportunity to be able to say, this really fits Kaysville and this is how we move forward in this site. And just another thing that we wanted to kind of hit home a little further for Mutton Hollow. Again, this is a vision for this area, not intended to dictate exactly how it will develop. Like I said, that has potential to include village-like experience, shops and services, small scale, outdoor activation. We also love the idea of public and historical art, not just at Mutton Hollow, but throughout this area. We have examples in the plan of where some communities have taken materials from buildings that have gone and turned them into a monument or an art piece, and we wanted to be sure to call that out because there's definite opportunity there. And then include housing, connectivity, and commercial space. Again, not to continue it, but it just seemed important. It's that Northern Gateway experience, and we wanted the plan to describe elements that can create this experience for community members and visitors, although we definitely recognize the importance that it's community member scale. And then we added an example